Welcome, one and all, to the most hotly anticipated piece of content of 2021. Will ranks every single hour of the day, from S tier to D tier, in extensive and just like absolutely correct fashion. There is no room for debate. Some people that came up to me at the end of you know, the weeks following my masterpiece of ranking every fruit and vegetable, and they came up to me and said that some things were wrong or they had opinions. Those opinions aren't welcome. This is just fact. This is just me letting the universe know the truth, and there's no room for debate really. That's just it. That's the character we play here. You may notice that this tier list is not in tierlist.com. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and that's because tiermaker.com or whatever it was asked me to make my own account, and I had to link it to Twitter, and I just objected that on a visceral level. So we're doing it live. We're doing it in Excel. Anyway, without further ado, ugh, there's some truck noise in the background for you. Let's get into ranking every hour of the day. Okay. 1 a.m. Now, 1 a.m. is a great hour if you've made it to it, depending on your goals, right? Because if you're waking up early the next day, 1 a.m. it's not where you want to be necessarily. But if you're staying up and it's like a party time, 1 a.m., wonderful hour, the party's still going, everything's going strong, life is good. I'm gonna say it's a pretty good hour. It's a pretty good hour. Obviously, the problem with 1 a.m. is if you are trying to get to sleep, you're going to verge on 2 a.m. and then life can be very, very upsetting from that point onwards. I would cautiously rank it as an A tier. These might shift. Now, 2 a.m. is just like a slightly worse 1 a.m., I feel. Like, if the party's still going, if it's that sort of evening, great. You're loving it. If you're awake at 2 a.m. and you have work the next morning, disgusting time to be alive. It's a tricky one. There aren't, apart from a party night, I don't really ever want to be awake at 2 a.m. Like sometimes I'll be watching stuff and then realize it's 2 a.m. and it's just like I've defeated myself through my own inaction. When will I learn that my actions have consequences, etc., etc.? I don't know whether it's B tier or A tier. It definitely doesn't feel the same way 1 a.m. feels. It feels worse, I feel, to be up at 2 a.m. If you're just falling asleep at 2 a.m., that's different. But if you're like awake and you're going to be awake for the entirety of the hour of 2, things are not going great for you, I feel. Depending, if it's a party night, once again, whole different story. 3 a.m. is like even worse. we're getting progressively bad. I'm gonna put it in C just for the time being. Again, if it is a party and the party's still going and the party is strong, then great. Any other time, this is a disgusting time to be awake. If you have work the next morning, your life is over. Especially because at this point, if you do have work the next morning, you've probably been trying to get to sleep for a number of hours, probably through the other ones in the list. Well, obviously through the other ones. If you're failing that and it's 3 a.m., like you're in a sorry state. The next morning is not going to be your friend. Not just, and that's, yeah, if you're up at 3 a.m. for a reason, like it's part of the previous day, great. If you're trying to get to sleep at 3 a.m., life is bad, and there's no recovering from that. 4 a.m. is even worse. 4 a.m. is just the worst, possibly the worst hour on the list. I'm going to put it in the D tier straight away. I never want to wake up at 4 a.m. I never want to be trying to get to sleep at 4 a.m. I just, at 4 a.m. you should be trying to get to sleep, or you should just be asleep at 4 a.m. I don't know. Maybe there's a wonderful event that's keeping you up at 4 a.m., but that happens so rarely. Like, 360 days of the year, you want to be asleep at 4 a.m. It's just a horrible, horrible time. Maybe metrically the worst hour of the day. Now, 5 a.m. is slightly different because you might be getting up at 5 a.m. to do something. Like you might be going somewhere. You know, you could have an early morning flight. You got to get up at 5 a.m. You're not going to be happy about it, but it at least has some functionality to it. I used to get up, maybe it was 5 a.m., 5:30, drive up the coast from Brisbane on a Friday morning, go surfing, and then come back and try and make it back before 9 a.m. with my dad. And that was like, you know, the 5 a.m. bit sucked, but it was necessary in the process. So, you know, it feels like a more functional 4 a.m. Like, obviously, if you haven't slept and it's 5 a.m., life is over. Just give up. But if you just wake up at 5 a.m., 5:30, like, life could be all right. There might be a reason for it. There probably isn't. But if there was, you know, life's all right. 6 a.m. again, a better version of 5, slightly, you know. If that's your early morning's just a little bit nicer. I would put it slightly above. Let's do a little rearranging. I'd put it slightly above 5 a.m. obviously, but it doesn't feel like a 2 a.m. necessarily. You know, 6 a.m. you're getting up for work or something like that. It's an hour that you're forced to be up at, not an hour that you want to be up at, unless you're off to climb a mountain or something. But I rarely am. I rarely find myself with the urge to climb a mountain, but sometimes. Now, 7 a.m. is reasonable. 7 a.m. is like a 2 a.m. It happens all the time. You know, you're never going to fight a 7 a.m. If you have to get up at 7 a.m., it's not like a big issue in your life, I feel. Like, you know, no one's complaining like, oh man, I had to get up at 7. And if you are, you need to like have a reality check, because that's a time when adults are awake. Just had to hydrate real quick. Yeah, 7 a.m. is a fine hour. It's a fine hour. You know, you don't want to be up on 7 a.m. Say on a weekend, you do not want to be up at 7 a.m. You know, the hours in the S and the A tier are hours you probably want to be up on a weekend, I'd say. But as a weekday hour, 7 a.m. stands the test of time. Like, no one's going to be mad at 7 a.m. Well, you'd hope not, at least. Now, that being said, it does depend on the season. You know, in your winter months, you know, 7 a.m. might be in darkness. I don't know. Like, I've lived on the earth for like 22 years. I don't know when the sun sets most of the time. It's really weird. I don't know how I missed that skill. There are other skills I missed that are time related that we'll get to as well, but you know, that's one of them. I think it took me till age 20, age 19 to understand why seasons happened. I thought the Earth was like on a slightly egg-shaped orbit, but that just is not true and didn't make sense at all. Turns out it's tilted. Who knew? The equator, wild. But yeah, seasons are weird, dude. Now 8 a.m. is a slightly better 7 a.m., but it's not good enough to be like a 1 a.m., I would say. Like, 8 a.m. is fine. If you're waking at 8 a.m. on a weekday, and you can wake up at 8 a.m., like that's golden, you know. Most of the time I'm waking up for work 7, 6, so if you're waking up at 8 and you got work at like 10 or something, and that's, you know, depending on your commute, reasonable, like that's good stuff. You know, a little bit of extra sleep in, especially if you're going to bed at, let's say, 1, that's 7 solid hours, that's good stuff. Very reasonable hour, I think. Very reasonable. Now, the other side of it is that sometimes I have work at 8 a.m. and at those times I want to die. So maybe I should rank it lower, because no one's going to work at 7 a.m. But 8 a.m. has the potential to be a work hour, and in that case, it's like a C or a D tier. Like, I never want to be at work at 8 a.m., despite giving myself that shift fairly often. You know, I'm going to put it in a C tier. If you're waking up at 8 a.m., life is good. If you're at work at 8 a.m., nothing is good. Nothing is good at all. Okay, so 9 a.m. Now this is a reasonable hour for anything. If you're waking up at 9 a.m., you might be late, but let's assume you're not. Wonderful. If you're at work at 9 a.m., yeah, fair enough. You know, that's when work starts. That's how work do. That's capitalism, baby. Got to go to the water bottling factory to bottle some water. This hotel I'm at has free water, by the way. I know most places have free water in the taps, but this one has free water in a bottle, which is like the smallest of luxuries, but I figure that's something that they usually charge you for in the fridge thingamajig. Mini fridge. Anyway, 9 a.m. decent hour. You're not setting the world on fire, but it's like it's a functional and decent hour. It may be a work time, so that kind of pulls it down from the A tier, I think. Now, 10 a.m. is better than 9 a.m. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows that 10 a.m. is better than 9 a.m. And I'm going to say that maybe this is the rearrange we needed in the world. 10 a.m. is better than 9 a.m. is better than, well, here's the thing, 2 a.m. is it better than 10 a.m.? The world's a strange place, 10 a.m. you're probably at work if it's a work day, or you're up if it's a weekend day. Even the day after a party, you're up at 10 a.m. You should be. If you're not, something's gone wrong. Have a little bit of etiquette, like wake up, clean the house, get out of those people's hair. These are my thoughts on the matter. But 10 a.m., no matter what, you're usually coming up, unless you're sick or really exhausted. Which I was like last week, so I don't know why I'm slamming 10 a.m. that much, but it's a good time. Like, you've slept in. If you're waking up at 10 a.m., at least from my perspective, is pretty good. It might even verge on A tier. It's very close, Like 2 a.m. and 9 a.m. are both functional hours, but 10 a.m. is lovely. Yeah, why not? Who's gonna stop me? God? Anime? Neither one have power in this dominion. That's not true. God, anime, please don't strike me down with your combined forces. I'll be good. Okay, now that I've covered myself from all manner of media and religious sin, let's talk about 11 a.m. 11 a.m., if you're lucky, might be some sort of morning tea break, and that immediately has me thinking A tier. Like, there aren't too many things better than 11 a.m. Like, you've probably done something by 11 a.m. You might have accomplished a task. It could be a brunch time, although brunch can happen at 10 a.m., which is why it's so high on the list, Brunch could also happen at 9, but I'd be a slightly, less enthused. If brunch is at 10, great. You could be doing brunch at 11, but it might be morning tea, depending on, obviously I work at school, so I have weird break hours, but if you might be on break at 11 a.m., or you might just be taking a break at 11 a.m. after doing something, which is always nice, You're probably starting to feel productive. Things are moving in your world. I'm putting it up there. It's definitely, I think it's better than 10 a.m. Well, that's concerning. There we go. Excel wizard, he says, highlighting the screen. Okay, we're in this, boys. Yeah, I think that's a logical place for 11 a.m. It's like, you're going to see it. You're going to enjoy it, probably. 11 a.m., it's a good time. I'm never upset to meet someone. Well, here's the thing. If you want to do something in the morning and then someone says, okay, let's meet at 11 a.m., you're not doing something in the morning anymore. You're doing something in the midday. So as a meeting time, it kind of actually falls down in that regard. As a scheduling time, I've just had a whole shift of perspective. As a scheduling time, if someone wants to do something at 11, it screwed up whatever you had planned at 9, and it screwed up whatever you had planned at lunchtime. It's a very intermediate, annoying time to meet or schedule or do things at. If your day is free, 11 a.m. is lovely, but because of its lack of versatility, I'm putting it back behind 10. It's controversial, I know, but I think that's where my heart really lies. Been watching a lot of kids movies. No, not really. I've just been watching a lot of movies with that moral recently. If you're wondering, by the way, why I'm constantly drinking water, it's because it's 1,000,000 degrees in Dolby, and that's where I am. And it's just not a nice time to be unhydrated, I've also had to turn the aircon off to kind of remove the whoosh sound constantly. I think you'll still probably hear a little bit of that from my laptop, but much less, hopefully. Now, midday. It's a nice, easy time, and you don't have to say a number. You can just say midday, which is really nice. But here's the thing that pisses me off about midday, and you'll see it. The problem is below. Why is it PM? Why? It doesn't, I know at some point I knew why, but it's like an academic argument. Someone decided it should be PM because of some word linguistic definition long ago, and it's absolutely screwed up everyone's schedule ever since, You can't, if your plane was leaving at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., like you would be absolutely paranoid that you're going to miss it, especially 12 a.m. because does that mean the day before or the day of? You know, is that midnight at the start of the day or midnight at the end of it? Like that's just upsetting. You know, it's just both of these, they're kind of cursed hours. You know, functionally, in terms of like living through 12 p.m., like you love it, but you enjoy it, I would say. But due to its cursed sharing of the AM PM disparity here compared to everything else, it's just disgusting. You know, it would otherwise be an A tier. I think it has to be at least B tier, if not C tier, just because of that. You know, and it's hot, right? Like if it's 12, someone wants to do something at 12 that involves going outside in the summer, like no, I won't unless you know, like I just will not do that. 9 a.m. much better in that situation. Even like 10 a.m. You know, or later times like 3 p.m., which obviously we'll get to. But yeah, it's not as versatile as a doing thing. I love that you can call it midday, which is all I call it because why would the PM AM? Just disgusting. You know, just disgusting. I don't know if you just saw that pop up, but my device will need to restart for outside of hours updates. Just in case anyone was concerned. Now, into the PMs and the one cursed AM. PMs are like good. I think PMs are almost universally better than AMs, just in general, in concept. They suffer in the 24-hour time notation, you know, 1300, 1400. Like, it's just, it requires a small amount of math that I'm really opposed to. Like, why would that happen, you know? Like, you have to convert it because people don't speak in 1300. They speak in, like, 1 p.m. most of the time, you know? It just seems very annoying. Like, I can read it, obviously. Like, I passed, you know, year 7 or whatever. But it's just a slight bit of extra effort that makes it annoying. But that's not the fault. I can't rank every PM lower because of that. Well, I could. I can do whatever I want. Once again, God, anime, etc. But I won't. I will allow this transgression of the PMs. military time, not a vibe. I would rank it not a vibe out of 10 if anyone's listening from the military. Please don't. If you are, I don't want to get like carpet bombed. Okay, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. is a good time. Like if you haven't had lunch at 12, you're having lunch at 1, and it's much more convenient. It's slightly less hot at 1. You know, things are getting really good. I'm realizing now that I might have no S tier rankings at the end of this, and I might have to adjust. 1 p.m. is getting there. It just has a really good vibe to it for me, I feel. But also I feel like 11 or 10 maybe as well. You know, definitely like sometimes you don't want to be up at 1 a.m. This is a good point. Sometimes you don't want to be up at 1 a.m., but you generally want to be up at all these other times. So I would shift that back down the rankings slightly. It's only occasionally that you don't really want to be up at 1 a.m. It's not too big a deal if you are, obviously. But yeah, 10, I would put it... I would put 1 p.m. just above 11 a.m., not in enjoyment, but in convenience for scheduling, I think. That's generally where I go with. Now, obviously, all of these change if you have like a niche interest, right? Because, you know, if I'm out here surfing, then 9, 8, 7, they all get boosted. Because early hours have less wind, makes the surf better. Life is good. And maybe that actually is how I feel, honestly. Because I do not rank 6 a.m. that highly, but I rank 8 and 7. Yeah, I rank 8 a.m. higher. I'm here for changing my mind. It's 2021. We can do whatever we need. Yeah, why not? Why not do it, dude? No one's gonna stop me. Come fight me. I'm ready. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, these hours are all functional. These hours can be functional depending on what you're doing. Like on a surf day, these hours are great, and obviously these ones get boosted even further. But yeah, 1 p.m. is just a good hour. No one's going to complain. You could have late lunch or on-time lunch, really. I usually have lunch at 1, but sometimes I drift into 12, depending on the workday. It's just a good time. Like, you can organize something. If your afternoon event might start at 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. But you probably are still at work, 5 days out of 7. So it's not, it's never going to be that amazing. It can still be a work hour. 2 p.m. is better than 1 p.m. because work is closer to being over, I would say. I would rank it slightly better than, maybe even better than 10 a.m. I like a 2 p.m. is good. It kind of lacks identity in a way. Like 1 p.m. is almost iconic in my mind for being lunchtime and being a time of rest, whereas 2 p.m. doesn't have that sort of like branding for me. And because of that, I'm now shifting it immediately after deciding where I wanted to put it. But in terms of branding, 3 p.m. now that's an hour, right? Like you're sitting around at school watching the clock waiting for 3 p.m. is just a glorious, glorious hour. 2 p.m. has the like, oh, we're coming back to class at 1:50, basically 2 p.m. But 3 p.m. that bell rings, you are out. It still contains a lot of like, this is freedom for me. It's also when it's in the summer getting a bit less hot, so it has a little added bonus there. You can probably go back outside without dying at 3 p.m. Go swim in the pool, do whatever you want to do. Great time to meet people in the afternoon again. It's just an all-round good hour. It's the first serious contender for an S tier. Now, it might get pushed out of here. Who knows? Surely not me. Only the whim of the universe. What if I pre-rehearsed these? What if I knew? That would be amazing. I'm going to do that for the long con. But as of yet, I'm finding these out as we go. So 3 p.m., I'm going to say first S tier. 1 p.m. is very close, and 10 a.m. is also very close. They're like peak brunch times. The rest of these are very solid. These are all right, with 2 a.m. I think probably being the worst of them. No, I would not. I would much rather it be 2 a.m. than 8 a.m. most times. For some reason, I like 7 a.m. better than 8 a.m., especially for a wake-up time. This is a lot more thorough sorting than I usually do. And by usually, I mean the one other time I've done this. Okay, this I feel represents my thoughts quite nicely. Excel, if you want to sponsor me to make tier lists on your software, by the way, I'm open. I have no other spreadsheet affiliation. That being said, if Google Sheets wants to sponsor me, I'm also open to that. Cloud-based software, man, you gotta love it. That's just capitalism, baby. Efficiency, being able to sync the sheet from your phone to your laptop, share it with someone else. Whew, can't beat that. Okay, that's the type of thing I'll be saying if they pay me, so pay me. 4 p.m. It just doesn't have the same ring to it as 3 p.m. Like I know functionally it's like the same, if not better, but your afternoon's like slightly more over at 4. Like if someone wants to do something in the quote-unquote afternoon in winter or even like in one of the middle seasons, like 4 is getting closer to night. You start something at 4, you're finishing it at 6, then it's like nighttime, and then that's not an afternoon activity at all. Like 1 p.m. start, 2 p.m. start, 3 p.m. start, those are afternoon activities. 4 p.m. start, it's not an afternoon activity. Who are you kidding? Might as well make it 5, make it a nighttime gig, People need to learn. The world needs to know, This is education. This is the doctrine. 4 p.m. just it doesn't have what 3 p.m. has, and doesn't even have what 1 a.m. has. Almost, I feel. It's very close to 1 a.m. Like 1 a.m. you might have been trying to get to sleep. You might have been trying to sleep through after midnight, and you're up at 1 a.m. and it's a bit annoying. Like if you're at work at 4 p.m. and this is the last hour before you can leave, that's truly horrendous. You want it to be 5. Like it could be a very frustrating hour. It doesn't have what a lot of these other hours have. It almost falls into that 9 a.m. You might just be starting work, or you've been there for a little while. You're trying to end work, so it does have that it's not as frustrating as 9 a.m. where you're just starting. Like you're almost out. It's the last hour. but it is probably still work time, unless you're on a weekend, obviously. Unless you work weekends. I don't know. I haven't worked weekends in a long time. 5 p.m. is much better. 5 p.m. is just substantially better. Like, just viscerally, I feel like it's an S tier hour. I don't know why. It might not be. It might only be A tier, you know? It might only be A tier. It might be between 1 and 2 p.m. I've like, my initial enthusiasm towards 5 p.m. is based on it like work is over, which is hell yeah, buddy. In the same way that school is over is a hell yeah, but this is like so ingrained in my mind. Whereas because of like, you know, the casualization of the workforce for the last 20 years, plus, you know, 5 p.m. doesn't have the same quitting time sort of vibe to it, because sometimes it's quitting time, sometimes it's not, you know. Sometimes I finish work at 4:15, sometimes I finish work at 3, sometimes 6, you know. Like, if you're still working through 5, like, life could be pain, brother. If you're starting a shift at 5, disgusting. At the same time, if someone says like, hey, you want to go and do something at night, we're starting at 5 and then going into the night or something like that, that's great. That's great. That's a good time, you know. Not perfect. Definitely not a perfect hour like 3 p.m. But it's good. You know, it's a good time. I have a feeling that there's going to be a gap here between 1 and 5. There are hours that fit. And speaking of them, I think 6 is one of them. You know, I would rather have something at 6. It gives me a little bit more time between work and whatever it is. It is, though, an awkward time. You know, if you finished work at 5 and then someone wants to do something at 6, but you can't go home and get changed, like, that's quite frustrating, honestly. Actually, yeah. In that way, it's much worse than 5. But you can start your nighttime activities at this hour, and it's quite nice. You know, it's always going to be, well, it's not always going to be night, but it's, what time is it now? It's 6:30. I've got this lovely sunset going on. You know, it's a nice hour. It really is. But, you know, if I'd been working up until 5 and then someone was like, yo, let's go out at 6, I would not be de-stressed enough to handle that. You know, at least if you're starting something straight away, like 5:30, you know, you don't have that downtime to like feel the tiredness in a way that no one else can, you know. So yeah, I think it might be worse than 5 p.m., but it's a controversial choice in here. 7 p.m. feels better than both of them, I feel. I think I have like a bias towards odd PM hours. Like, I love 3 p.m., 1 p.m., 7 p.m. Like, that's a great time to have dinner. Like, to go out for dinner, to start your party. It might be early to start your party. Probably is. Depends on the type of party, I guess. But I would, you know, I would never shake my head at an event starting at 7 p.m. It's just a good time. It's a nice round number. It's a prime number. These things like feel good in my mind. You've definitely had enough time to go home from work if you wanted to. Get ready. You're definitely not at work, or, you know, you really shouldn't be. I guess I'm coming at that from a privileged position of working daytime shifts constantly. Like, I work essentially 9 to 5, 5 days a week, like a real adult. Disgusting. But yeah, I don't have the curse of something like Matt's shifts where he's working who knows when. He might not have that same feeling of 7 a.m. is definitely free time for me. You know, it might, I'm going to put it as an S tier. It really does transcend. The only thing holding these back is that I could be at work. I'm not at work at 7 p.m. And that really does make it feel quite good. And I love that. I love that about 7 p.m. You're never going to shake it. It's a really nice time to be alive. Now, 8 p.m. being an even number, I feel like I've cracked the code. I don't like it quite as much as 7. I'd rather do something at 7 or 9. Spoilers for 9 p.m. It's just a weird sort of hour, you know. Like, I don't know. I don't watch my parents watch TV. I don't actively watch TV, but I feel like it has that kind of moment of there's nothing on. You know, it's a weird middle hour. You better have already started whatever your activity is at 7. Starting it at 8 just feels slightly different. It just feels wrong to me. I don't know. I don't have any concrete scientific analysis of 8 p.m. Maybe it's just because like in my head it's connected to 8 a.m., which is a very substandard hour in the first part. So I want to, like, would I rather, let's think, would I rather it be 4 p.m. or 8 p.m.? I kind of want it to be 4 p.m., you know? Even I could be at work at 4 p.m. Okay, so boost it up above that because I'm not at work at 8 p.m. This is science now. But would I rather it be 8 p.m. or 1 a.m.? Probably 8 p.m. This is feeling a bit more right, you know. Even though like 11 a.m. just has a nice break, sort of midday summer's breeze feel to it to me. Like 8 p.m. is oppressive, man. I don't know what it is, but it's really like pushing the boundaries of what I want an hour to be. Maybe it should be lower even. Maybe I should be pushing some of these lower, you know? I really don't want to put 4 p.m. in the same category as 9 a.m., but you know, 8 p.m. just feels so much worse to me than, say, 5 p.m., you know? There almost needs to be a new category here, and I can do that because this is an Excel spreadsheet, so maybe I will alter that at the end. Well, let's get the rest of them in there. 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is good. Things can start at 9 p.m. Maybe it's just because there's a gap there that I had to fill, but that felt quite right. You know, like would I rather it be 10 a.m. or 9 p.m. They're pretty even, and 1 p.m. as well is a great time. Obviously, like lunch. 9 p.m. if you're going out for something, great. It's definitely nighttime now. You could be doing anything at 9 p.m. pretty much. The only problem is that some things might be closed at 9 p.m. depending on what day it is. That wouldn't be closed at 7, which is kind of a nice little advantage there. I think that's a good reason for it to be in this tier. You know what I mean? And like I've just felt it, man. We need a new intermediate tier here. We need something to separate, to really like bring these out. You know what I mean? This is now B, C, D, E. Oh, that's painful, man. 28. In case anyone wants like the exact formula for making this size, that's 28 font. And then we give it a background color. Ooh, what should we go with? They were in a nice gradient before too. That's really quite annoying that they're not going to be anymore. I can't possibly fiddle with this. And you know what? Maybe I can. Maybe I can. Who's going to stop me? Not you. You're sitting at home. You don't have a tier list making YouTube channel. Can't do. Oh, that's a horrible blue. Back to the other blue. Thank you. This one becomes gray. You know, that looks nice. Okay, we're in there. Okay, let's do it. Oh, there's no... I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I like derailed this. I swear I'm not just doing it to extend the view time to make those ads sense. I don't have that sort of forethought. But yes, okay. So let's run this through. Which ones need to be demoted here? I think 4 p.m., 1 a.m., 8 p.m. 11 a.m. just feels so much better than those. So I feel like, bam, that's a good little split there. Is there anything else that needs to be rearranged? Oh, I feel like in some ways I'd rather it be 11 a.m. than 2 p.m. But they're very close. Again, 6 p.m. It's the even hours that just feel weird to me. And for that reason, it just got demoted. Get yeeted, son. That is closer to how I feel in my brain. But it's tricky. But that's getting closer. You know when you like viscerally like you look at an image and something's wrong with it? I feel that somewhat, but like I can't comprehend why. But you know, maybe that's just life, dude. Maybe that's just how we vibe. Okay. Let's make some progress. 10 p.m. It's a good of the even-houred PMs, which apparently I dislike. 10 p.m. is like much better than most. It's definitely like in the A tier rather than the B tier. I would say for sure. I like it very much evenly as 11 a.m. 2 p.m. I'm feeling like it's slightly worse now than these others. Yeah, maybe that was what was wrong. 5 p.m. is good. But maybe not that good. That's feeling close to correct. Yeah, 11 a.m. just wasn't getting the respect it deserved from this list, I feel. Maybe I do like 10 more than 11 more than 10, man. Like, maybe I would rather it be 11. I think I might. This is showing how weak-willed I am in some ways. Um, Being able to just like yeet these around like this, but it's in a lot of ways that's how I feel. Like this is science, man. With further analysis, you improve your statements. 10 p.m. better than 2 p.m. Not quite as good as 5 p.m. perhaps. Although it is a good time. Like you can just be sitting on the couch, you could be at a party, you could be out, you could be doing anything. At 10 p.m. It has that sort of wow. Yes, it's much better than 5 p.m. It's science, man. It's just science. Yes, that is correct. That now feels more correct to me. 11 p.m. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's S tier. Maybe even better than 7 p.m. Because I'm never gonna be asleep at 11. It's always a good time if you're like winding up to get to bed at like midnight because you have a early day or whatever. 11's great. It's that last little wind down time. If you're out for the night, 11's a great wind up time. Like it's versatile. You could be doing anything at 11 p.m. It's an odd number, which, as we've established, feels better. It's almost midnight. It's a viscerally good time in the same way 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. are. And then yeah, my favorite AM would be 1 followed by 10, then followed by 8. Is that how we've got the list? No, 9 would be better. Life is hard, dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Maybe that's right. Sometimes documenting the will of the universe is like quite difficult. I wish everyone knew my struggle here with the art I'm trying to achieve. Okay, the final hour, midnight. Now, midnight, the word, great word, love it. 12 a.m. disgusting, hate it. Never wanna see 12 a.m. written like that. Just and you see it all the time, and I just hate it. Like, why would you? 12 a.m. It's part of the next day. It has that sort of vibe to it. Midnight. The gulf between midnight and 12 a.m. is as big as the gulf between like hot and cold McDonald's fries. It's night and day. Exactly the same thing, but with such a more toxic vibe that it rips the soul right from your body and just shoves it in a little can and it stomps on it repeatedly in like an ice cooler from the McDonald's out the back of Central Station. That's exactly the type of feeling that 12 a.m. gives you, but midnight is like romanticized, man. Midnight's lovely. Midnight is up there. It might be the last S tier hour, and it could be so much higher if it weren't for the garbage. I don't know why it's making me scroll to pick it up. I'm sorry for the screen region that was so fixed up until that point. It would be higher, but it doesn't feel as satisfying as 11 p.m. The fact that it is AM in the first place almost drags it down to like E tier immediately. Man, like immediately. You know what? I think 5 a.m. is so situationally good that I'm going to pull it down. But maybe, no, if I do that, then I'd pull 3 a.m. down as well, They're both so situationally good. Maybe this is how life is. Maybe this is how the world is. 3 p.m. is definitely, it's so iconic. No, 12 p.m.'s better. 11 p.m.'s better, The 3 p.m. is a nostalgia play, I feel. Current me actually appreciates 7 and 3 p.m., like living through them more, I'd say. But midnight is also it's a romance play. Midnight isn't functionally, it's clearly worse than 11 p.m. in most cases. It just feels nice because it's midnight, But when written like this, clearly the last S tier. Then there's something bright and breezy about 11 a.m. and 10 a.m. for that matter. And I would rather have brunch at 10, but 11 has that break time feeling. It has that 3 p.m. vibe, Midday, lunch, brunch time, just a good versatile time, and the same with 10, obviously. but slightly less versatile in that way. 5 p.m., wonderful. You love to see it, but might still be work. Might be finishing up. 2 p.m., definitely work. Disgusting, don't like that. Ooh, just the way that feels, like I feel like it just got demoted to B tier. Just in the way. Yes, yeah. It like the way I just viscerally felt to it is like C tier, but logically I know that I like 2 p.m. in a way that I don't like 9 a.m. or well, I like 8 a.m. for a surf more than I like 2 p.m. for like an early shift. So maybe it's a yeetable situation, dude. Maybe this is the reality we live in. Maybe, maybe. Is that how I feel? Is that how my soul makes joy? I don't know, but maybe. 6 p.m. Good. 8 p.m. Good. 1 a.m. Good if it's a party day. Otherwise, 4. 4 is much better than 8, but 8 is good. 8 is still better than 9, even though if you're at work, obviously, but it still feels better than 9 in my soul. 2 p.m. Mostly good, but has a bad vibe for work-related reasons. But it's still much better than... Oh, maybe... That's the play. That's the play. I'm sorry for the amount of rearranging, but I feel like I need to express myself fully here. Then 9 a.m. 7 a.m. Decent. In some ways better than 9 a.m. I would say, because if you're waking up, you might have a few hours before work, whereas 9 a.m. could be work. But they're pretty much on the level. You could have those either way, I'd say, and still be happy. Midday. Yeah, that's kind of it, isn't it? Midday is just there. Maybe you'd rather it be midday than 9 a.m., Your day's half over, but it's hot, man. It's just so hot. That's a climate-based decision. 2 a.m. could be great. Oftentimes a horrific time to be awake. 6 a.m. and 5 a.m. only very situationally good. I would honestly put like 5 a.m. is probably intentional. If 5 a.m. is intentional, probably better than 6 a.m. If 5 a.m. isn't intentional, 6 a.m. is better. 3 a.m. garbage hour, unless you're awake to it. Actually, no, I would pull this down because if we're counting that as the hour up and until 4, like you should be winding. It's not quite as disgusting as 4. Nothing's as disgusting as 4. I was right. This is correct. 4 a.m. is the most garbage of all the hours. Okay, I think I've solidified it in my mind. I think this is the definitive ranking. Just don't talk to me if you disagree. I really feel like that's the way to be civil about it. I make these things because sometimes people ask me my opinions on stuff, and then I have to have an answer, and that's exhausting, man. And in this way, now they can't. If they ask me my opinions, I'll just send them a link to the video and fuck off. No. This is a great video. I hope you enjoy the content. I've decided it's a great video. I'm very satisfied with it. Okay. Love you all. Hope you enjoyed watching. Bye.